All right, hello, welcome to the show. This is High Vibe TV, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehon. Except you said when you say you rescued animals, I want to call you Dr. Sharnael Wolverine Seahorse.
That's funny.
But anyway, she is a naturopathic doctor, author, speaker, and host of podcast Dr. Sharnael TrueTV, devoted to helping people remember who they truly are biologically, emotionally, and spiritually. The biological one is important these days.
Tell
Um,
me about it.
Blending epigenetics, frequency medicine, nervous system regulation, body language, conscious language, and plant medicine integration. She teaches that miracles are not random events, they're a result of alignment. And that makes a lot of sense. Miracles are basically just balance and
Yeah.
bringing that balance into fruition through our thoughts and actions and all that good stuff. Um, so it looks like you've written a few books, 5 books in total. And the latest one is something called Grandfather Iboga.
Yes, that's actually I've written 7 books,
Oh,
but
seven.
the two that just came out were Grandfather Iboga, and then I wrote a workbook for the Science of Miracles. So I'm really excited about that.
Nice, you're busy. So, Iboga is something that I'd never heard of before. Um, what is it?
It
Start there.
it is yeah, yeah, and thanks for having me too, Mike. I was telling you off camera, like appreciate your comments and your posts are always pretty high vibe and nice and just encouraging. And so we've not met in real life, but when you asked me to do this, it was an easy yes because I've followed you for a long time and you've never been weird. Or there's so much stuff out there. It's like people arguing and posting
Yes.
mean. It's like you've always been so positive, so I appreciate
I
your
hate
life.
I hate drama. It's like,
Yeah.
and some of it's so silly. I'm like, seriously, people, you're fighting over this.
No, I
It,
know
it,
it's dumb,
it's
but
like,
you
okay,
always
we're never gonna get out of this predicament we're in if we're fighting over this.
dumb stuff, right? Yeah. No, but I appreciate your light. Iboga it's the bark of a tree and mostly found in Africa, mostly growing in Gabon and also some in Cameroon. And it has a lot of amazing healing properties for the brain and the body. And I didn't hear about it either. I never heard. I study plants and trees and bark, fruit, and different things, and I've been doing that since 2008, and teach a lot about all the fun things. But I really my big hustle, I guess, is learning about the sesquiterpenes and the monoterpenes and the way the phenols of different plants that work with our receptors and how it cleans off things, and they can be antibacterial or antimicrobial. And I know I'm not allowed to say any of that because of FDA stuff, but whatever. Plants are very healing, not just because they smell good and because they give us oxygen, but you know, herbal things, whether you're cooking with it or distilling it or just eating, Melissa oil, or Melissa plants, for antiviral things. I've always been really fascinated with that, or at least in my later years, getting older and needing a little more help with things. But I was going through my own kind of dark night of the soul, I guess you would call it. I don't know. I mean, part two, part three of my life of more dark nights of the soul, I feel. And was talking to someone about it on the sidelines of just trying to get some help for myself. And she sent me this video of Joe Rogan interviewing someone on it. And I was just like, I thought, man, I didn't know why she was sending it to me. It was just very random. She just like we got off a session and I was talking to her about like I don't know what I want to do with my life. I maybe had some midlife crisis and just kind of feeling stuck and going through a lot of grief and going through a lot of loss and going through some family things that weren't really fun. And, I think the people who follow me know that I've had a few deaths, six in a 2 week period, and then several right before that, and several right before that. I had 1 month where I had 17 patients that I lost. It's like a lot. It was just a
Wow,
lot. Um,
that
so
is a lot to
I,
take in.
yeah, and you know, I'm just working through that because, whether it's family or patients, like I love, and especially when it was my immediate family, people that I did life with, every day, talk to. And so when those players were removed from my everyday, I felt really, it wasn't just one person, it was like I felt like my world kind of got dumped upside down for a minute because I was like all the things I normally do, like call my grandma at 4 o'clock or do just all this stuff. It was like, oh yeah, now I can't do that, or we don't do weekends with the mother-in-law or just the normal stuff wasn't normal for me anymore, and I was having to remember how to do life without these people, and it was a drag. I mean, it was I wasn't doing well. And so when she sent this to me, I thought I was talking to her about like what to do. And she sends this to me and I'm like, oh, you think I'm just gonna start being like a plant medicine, shaman lady or something? Like I thought I laughed. I thought this is funny. Like, why is she sending me this? And then she's like, I don't know. I just felt like I was supposed to send it, And so I didn't watch it because I was just like I wasn't didn't think I was interested. And then a couple of days later, she prompted me and she's like, did you get to watch it yet? And it's 3 hours, so I was like, okay, I'll watch it. So just to appease her, I watched it and I was just mesmerized by not just the fact that Rick Perry and this attorney did a session themselves because I don't know. I guess I thought like psychedelics were for like hippie people or, whatever. But jumping into it, it's like in the Bible, and there's all these, most of the scientists, Plato, all of these guys, that's where they got their ideas is from this stuff. And, I've had my fair share of doing things that we can't talk about on podcasts. And, but I hadn't done this particular one before, never even heard of it. And so it was very interesting to me. And then next thing you know, I'm signing up to do it myself. And
Very effective video.
yeah,
Game changer,
yeah,
as they say.
yeah. I never saw myself. I never saw that coming. Wasn't on my bingo card for, Sharnael's doing psychedelics. Like that just the whole thing, and I wasn't telling anybody. I was gonna do it and just hope for the best. Wasn't really sure why I had all of these synchronicities that kept like just basically screaming at me, do this. And it got so hilarious, Mike, that I started writing things down because it was just like there's another thing, there's another thing, there's another thing, and I'm like I could not do it.
Wow.
um
Were you a doctor, like a MD or something before you became a naturopath? Or did you just jump?
no.
No? Okay.
No, I wasn't an MD, although I did work in hospitals and I worked in cardiac rehab and I worked in psych units because my undergrad is kinesiology and wellness and fitness. And so I was a recreational therapist in
Hmm.
psych units. And then I also worked in cardiac rehab, putting people on diets and who had heart attacks and things. So I was very fluent in the Western um, ways of big pharma and even surgery and insurance and just the scam of all of that. But I actually did that and then I went into full-time ministry. I was in full-time ministry for 20 years with the emphasis on the supernatural, um, with the emphasis on healing and seeing people and trying to reverse engineer how people had these mysterious, automatic healings, and I started looking into neuroscience and the physiology and how that has a play in these miracles. And really geeked out on the science part because that was kind of my background. And then I got really sick in real life, and someone introduced me to plants and using them because I tried all the Western stuff and it wasn't working. Um, and so I started using essential oils and herbs and just natural things that your grandma does, and started meeting other naturopaths, specifically Gary Young and a man named Dr. David Stewart, who are both MDs and naturopaths. Gary is just one, but Dr. Stewart is both. And then I met another MD who is an MD and my MD, but he practices as a naturopath. And I was like, I didn't know this existed. I mean, I knew like my grandmother did a lot of this stuff, but I didn't know a lot of Western medicine doctors who practiced these things. And then also included like Dr. Lucky, who's my doctor. He also had this biohacking stuff, and he was doing this in the late 90s. He was, using ozone and red light and all these crazy machines from Russia and China and Germany, and it's very mainstream now to use those kind of things. Hyperbaric chamber and ozone, oxygen, red light, infrared sauna, PEMF. But he was
Yeah.
doing this like way, way, way ahead. And so I went back to school at 37 to get my doctorate in naturopathic medicine based on these men who are just brilliant and kind and loving and also loved God. And because I didn't know I could do both, but I felt like when I shifted gears with that, it was like I had a way bigger audience for healing because I could say this is from God and minister and serve in a way, because there's so many people who are sick and so many people who are stuck on pharma. And, I would have patients that come to me and they're on 46 medicines and they don't even know why. And I'm just like, you don't know why? You know? So it's crazy. But
Well, we know
yeah,
why, because Big Pharma's getting rich,
yes.
but not
Yes,
a
they
good
are.
reason by any
Yes,
means.
they are. Yeah. So that's kind of where I made the shift. And when I got finished with school, I really did not go to school to have like a practice. Never in my wildest dreams of, having a practice and seeing people in real life. More so, I wanted to learn the ins and outs of everything naturopathic possible to help myself because I was going through my own thing. But then it turned into someone reached out and was like, "Hey, I know you do conference speaking, and would you want to, come teach on this at my church?" And so I started teaching naturopathic things in churches for a while, and then a couple other wellness centers, heard me from being at their church, and then they had me come to their conventions and their different things, and it kind of turned into moving out of just solitary speaking about God and love and living your best life and trying to be good and integrity to adding this part in, which is really kind of the same because when we're in integrity and we are in love and we are living, you know, in that integrity, like living true, there's a physiology that supports that. And so I didn't really see a difference, and I don't still see a difference. Like the back of my book, for the Science of Miracles, it starts out saying you cannot pee in the pool and hope it doesn't get everywhere. Um, and the
So
reason why,
true.
yeah, I think the Western style is like, let's work on the thyroid and who cares about the adrenals? Or like, let's look at having integrity, but who cares about your health? And it's like, it's all the same thing. Like when you are in good health, you're going to have the chemistry and the biology that backs up. having integrity and doing the right thing and being with your right partner and living in the right place, all that alignment that you talked about at the beginning.
Yeah, having gone through some medical things myself, I had to do that alignment myself. Like you kind of just have to, oh my God, how did I get this? I thought I was doing everything right. And then I had to kind of psychoanalyze myself and see, okay, what's not integrated here? It's like you have to like tackle not just the physical, but the spiritual, the emotional, pretty much the whole enchilada. And if like you said, if you pee in one part of the pool, you got to change the water. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely not easy, but I've seen some naturopaths too, and they've done some wonders for me. So I'm totally convinced of this particular branch of healing as the wave of the future, really. Especially when you're adding the frequency machines and the color and the just everything that's coming to the light these days as the dark side goes down.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that, like this is the future. I mean, Tesla was saying that in the 40s.
It was supposed to be the
Um,
now, but
I
got
yeah,
corrupted
and then
somewhere along the line.
yeah. So, yeah, Tesla, Einstein, all these guys that were dealing with frequency way back, and then even at the expo, I was just in LA and I was on a panel talking about frequency, and the panel guy in charge was like, "Hey, frequency is the future." And I'm like, Frequency's been around, like frequencies I've been dealing with, working with, and even plants have frequency. And that's kind of what drew
Yes.
me to the plant kingdom is like we're 67 megahertz on a healthy adult day, but like if you use a real oil, and there's only two companies that I know of that are real on the planet so far. Maybe there's more, but I've tested a lot and I've only found two. Lavender's 118, peppermint's like 124, helichrysum's 157. Rose oil, which is one of my favorites, is 320 megahertz. So if we're 67 and we're dropping, then that's when that opens the door for like dis-ease in our frequency or our electronics. But when we use things to bring frequency up, and it's measurable. Like you can measure it before and after. You could see it on live blood. I do live blood analysis, and just using this topical, it'll go past the brain barrier, the blood barrier. You can see it right in the scan, that it does go and it starts working with all 13 trillion cells in our body, within seconds. And it's like, wow, it's like this is the blood of a plant, but it goes in our blood. And overseas, they actually do injections and or IVs with frankincense and with thieves and some other things. And I've had it done to myself when I had black mold, which looks very close to cancer. I mean, if you don't have a really good eye, they're kind of hard to tell the difference under live blood. And a lot of people with cancer, they'll treat with chemo and radiation and all that stuff, and it could just actually be a misdiagnosed mold issue. And mold is very treatable without chemo. I mean, you can, so again, it goes back to the dollar.
Yeah. Wow, I never heard that black mold could be mistaken as cancer.
And just
That's
regular mold, fungus can, it looks so similar. And I just know because I had it and I was overseas and they showed me what it looks like. And that's how I got into live blood and was like, oh my gosh, I got to learn this. And they started doing the IVs, and I could see, the stages of, days go by and how my blood would change and change and change. And I wasn't doing anything different except for these IVs and getting off sugar because sugar will starve fungus and mold. That's a biggie. Most
oh wow.
Americans are eating sugar, or carbs, which feeds all of that. And there's a big mold problem with that. And it mimics as pre-diabetes or full-on diabetes. And so a lot of people who have those kind of issues, it's really a mold issue because they're parasites that are trying to get you to eat all the things to keep it
Mm.
alive, and that spikes the pancreas to the insulin issues. And So a lot of times people will go in and they're like, "Oh, you have this," and it's like, really, let's just kill the mold. Let's talk about the mold. Let's talk about the fungus. Let's make sure it's not systemic. You know, I know I'm dealing with that right now. I just had my live blood analysis done last week, and here we are. I'm like, there we are again. So I'm going to go get some treatments for that at the end of March. So, it's especially living somewhere where I am in Louisiana a lot. The humidity is crazy, and it's in the ACs when you go to the hotels. It's in a lot of stuff you could just breathe that in or eat something crazy, and there you are. You're back, into that spot again. So
Yeah, you live in swamp country.
yes, yes, I'm here some of the time. I'm actually from Montana, and we still have a place up there, so we kind of go back and forth.
Wow, those are
But yeah,
two totally different places.
very, very different places. Yes. Yeah. You're
Are
in
you
Canada, right?
me? No, I'm in
Yeah.
California.
Oh, you're in California. I was thinking you were in
Yeah,
Canada. What part of California?
CA, probably. Bay
Oh,
Area.
okay, cool.
The
Awesome.
you know, most people hate the Bay Area, but
Oh no, I mean
it, it has
I've
some good
just
aspects about it.
it does. It does. It's a nice place. Yes.
Nope,
But
I've
yeah.
been here for like 30 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm from the Midwest originally. So, look, were you from the mountain part of Montana or the plains?
I actually grew up on the east side, right above like Alberta, Saskatchewan
Oh,
area.
okay. So like North
Uh,
Dakota part.
Yep, that was like a mile from North Dakota, like 2 miles from North Dakota, 2 miles from Canada, and then we now live in Big Fork, which is the whole other opposite side.
Oh, that's where Laura lives, Laura
Yeah,
Eisenhower.
she's right up the street from me. Like
Oh,
we've
so you
been
live there
best.
now? So you
Oh
actually
yeah,
have two
I'm not
houses?
I'm
One,
not there right now, but I am there quite often, and she's literally like right up the road. We've been besties since like 2016, and she's just a blast. I love her.
well, yeah, that's how I got to know you on Facebook and through your videos and everything,
Oh,
just through Laura. So Laura's
yeah.
the ultimate pollinator of cool people out there. So
He is. And she actually is doing the forward to my new book, the Iboga book. So I'm
nice.
very thankful for her. She's kind of knows about my whole journey and what's all happened, and she's been there front row center with all the things, with the deaths and kids stuff and all, she knows all my family and my mom and my husband and all my children, and I know all her kids, and so it's
You're like
it's good to have.
sisters.
Yeah, it's very nice to have someone that I can relate to that will always tell me the truth. And then she's just freaking brilliant. I mean, she's just one of the really most brilliant people on the planet for sure.
Definitely. Back to the cancer. It sounds like cancer and mold have like a similar metabolic process because sugars feed cancer as well. Having gone
Yes.
through this, I had to learn everything I could about different cancers and the
So you
metabolic.
went through it. You went through it too.
Yeah, I had a squamous carcinoma thing I had to deal with a couple years ago. And
Yikes.
yeah, and I've been healthy all my life, and then all of a sudden I just had this bump on my head. I thought it was just a wart or something or a cyst, and it just stayed small forever. And then around 2021, 2020, right when the wind struck, I was like it started growing. I'm like big time. And I'm like I'm certainly not going to go deal with the medical establishment now. So I kind of kicked it down the road, just not even considering the C word. And eventually it just kept growing, and I'm like, I got to deal with this. So I did a alternative therapy, all that kind of stuff, anti-parasitical, and it didn't really help, at least with the mass bulk, because I let it go too long. But what it did do, I ultimately had to have it surgically removed. But what it did do is it allowed my immune system to clean out. So once the bulk was removed, it just kind of boom. It's like just kind of went to town and did its magic. But yeah, I discovered a book by Jane McClellan. Have you ever heard of her?
No, I'll write that
Oh,
down.
it's a good one. It's called How to Starve Cancer.
Jane, how do you spell McLennan?
Let's see, Mcleland. She's kind of a
Okay.
celebrity these days. Uh, she discovered that, mainstream medicine goes by genetics, epigenetics as their mode of exploration of how to deal with cancer. So they're basically like, a war mindset. You got to go to war, you got to break out the chemo, the gas bombs, the whole works. She discovered that it was more effective to research the metabolic pathways and to just break the supply chain of the nutrients. But as she dug in deeper, she found different cancers have different metabolic pathways. So most cancers use glucose as a fuel source, but some
Right.
cancers are wily enough, especially the hormonal based ones, that they can actually they have an intelligence. They can actually learn how to utilize other nutrients like arginine was one, and meat, some meat products and dairy and all kinds of things. So
Wow, I did not know that.
yeah, it's kind of complex and crazy, and I see this on Facebook all the time. People are like, "This cures cancer, ivermectin cures cancer," and I'm always like chiming in there. It's not that simple. I wish it was that
Right.
simple. It's never a one size fits all, and it's never a one gun kills the beast. It's like you have to have an arsenal of different methods, and obviously, plants are a huge part of that. Because like I found some of these good supplements. Turmeric, of course, is one, and then
Oh yeah.
berberine blocks glucose uptake, and green tea extracts and all. You're probably aware of some of these things if you're in holistic side of
I
things.
didn't know green tea did that.
Yeah, there's a company called Ultra Botanicals. I could send you the link.
Yeah, send it.
They found some kind of lipid coating that makes it absorb like 90% instead of 7% or something like that. So it's really
Green tea.
cutting edge. The turmeric too. Turmeric, if you just eat turmeric or most of the turmeric you buy at the store, even the organic stuff, you'll only absorb like 7% of it. It's kind of hard for your body to absorb it, even with the black pepper. And they made it somehow so it's up to 90% absorbable. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, please send.
Anyway.
I take turmeric every day. I cut back on the green tea, but I'm doing berberine.
Oh,
Um,
I can actually show you because I have them right here. It's a product line called the, let's see. There's like four of them. One is a cannabis one. It's a liquid. And then the number two is the turmeric, and it's pretty
wow.
sophisticated. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, send it to me. I'm very interested.
Yeah. Do you do your practice like locally, or do you do it primarily online?
I was in person and online, and right now I'm only online.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of the internet is you can pretty much the world is your clientele these days.
Yeah, I was seeing patients online way before the C word, and then it came really popular. But I have about 15,000 patients, so I could stay pretty busy. I took
Wow,
some time.
15,000?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's enough to keep you busy.
It is very busy. And my job is to, I don't have 15,000 now. I've had 15,000. But my job is to get them so they aren't my patients anymore. It's like I just want
Yeah,
you to get well and then learn how to take care of yourself. And then I don't have to talk to you anymore, not because I don't want to, but because I want you to learn. And that's the beauty of being a naturopath. I mean, the word doctor, you probably know this, actually means teacher.
right,
They used to teach people how to not have to be a patient anymore. And what I see, even amongst like chiropractors, it's like, oh, like come back here 3 times a week, or 2 times a week, or we'll get you on this, and then I need you back when you need to refill, or let's do a check-in, and it's just so much, not that they're isn't always a reason to maybe come back and get your stitches out or whatever.
Sure.
But
Me-
my
uh,
doctor doesn't do
Allopathic
that.
medicine is definitely needed. It's just way overused and abused, and as we well know.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. But yeah, I see I could do biofeedback online and that gives me a lot of diagnostics to see what's going on with people. And once I have the diagnostics, it's easier for me to go, well, this is what I would do. And I never tell people this is what you should do or this is the only way, but I like to just point out maybe some things in their practice that we can move out. And then during the consultation too, I will, if it's video, I can see body language to see where there's something really stuck or listen to conscious language to hear, like if someone says like, yeah, 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 or no, 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 then I know there's grief or different things like that. I can pick up and go, okay, grief about what? And then we get into the deeper thing. And then sometimes people have like an emotional release and, that could be a thing that's like suppressing something, and I like using essential oils a lot too, just because the limbic system, like, so your frontal lobe's right here, your limbic system's behind there, and that's like the seat of all your emotions. And I know the first time I did biofeedback, they found 28 traumas lodged in my body that I didn't even know I was aware of having these traumas. Um, but I started using this specific kit that I use pretty frequently with my patients, and was very on purpose with it daily for 16 weeks. And I went from 28 to 4 in 16 weeks just by using these oils. And I dropped 80 pounds because
Hmm.
when people have trauma, they'll hold on to like weight and their hormones will be jacked. And so if we can get all that leveled out, it just falls off. And people are like, wow. And I mean, I didn't even change my diet. And I was just like, well, I wonder what would happen if I did that too. So, raising the frequency by using the oils, but then also helping this limbic system that stores all these traumas in the body. Basically, the oils, the chemistry of the oils goes in and unlocks that and says, you know what, you can go now, you can go now, you can go now, and like breaks up all of these things that people hold on to, and people will have this kind of let go and release. And some of it I felt when I went through it myself. And I would be like, okay, today I'm like feeling all the feels, and then other days, like I didn't even know anything was happening, but I would just test myself again and I'd be like, oh, that's gone now. I wonder what happened with that. It's like maybe I did it in my sleep, or it just, I didn't have to know.
Just melted
And
away.
yeah, yeah, and
Nice.
talk therapy isn't bad either, but what I've seen with talk therapy is, I've to do a lot of coaching and I've had patients for a long, long time and they're still talking about, second grade not making cheerleader or something. And it's like you're talking about that, and it's traumatic to them, but it's like not really traumatic to the average person, but for some reason it's like let's go deeper and find out, well, why does that bother you so much, and so a lot of this can be done online without seeing anyone at all. But I do have a few people that will come just because I do have all the biohacking things like the red light, the infrared, some of those things. And there's times where I'm like, okay, I'll see you in real life. But
Do
I
you,
shut down in May to take time off for myself just to kind of get me in a better spot, and also it has turned into writing, and so I wrote a couple books, and like I said, I'm writing four other ones right now during this season. So I put a hold on my podcast. Probably some of you maybe noticed that Craig started his own, and him and I had one together forever, and I had told him, I need to take some time off. I've been doing this for 8 years, and I thought it was going to be a month or two, and then it was like the summer, and then it was like Christmas, and then he was like, "Do you care if I just do some stuff?" And I'm like, "Do it. Like, go have fun. Like, start your own channel. Like, I will cheerlead you. I will share it. I will be, if I come back, great. If I don't, no big deal." And we're still brothers and sisters, and I'm just standing there applauding him. I just got off the phone with him right before you actually, because he was like, "Oh, you got to come on my channel, and we got to do this." And I'm like, I'm sorry, I haven't been here for you. I still need some time, and he's like, it's okay, so it's all good.
That's great. Sounds like you're just on your next juncture of your journey. It's like,
Whatever that is, like, can
well, I
you
don't
tell
know if
me?
any of us know what's really going to happen with the world. It's all the ultimate shit show right now, but ultimately, those of us who have been studying all this stuff are going to have a better footing at it once the tornado stops spinning. At least I hope
Yeah,
so.
I know. I mean, I don't watch the news anymore, especially after Iboga. I mean, I used to keep somewhat informed, but wouldn't keep it on all the time, and now I literally have unfollowed like anything news, anything that even like influencers that only talk about the news, like
Yeah,
completely just had to like cut it out
good
because
call.
yeah.
So, getting back to Iboga, obviously, as a naturopath, you've dealt with hundreds, if not thousands, of different plants. So, what's so special about Iboga that it actually gets its own book?
Well, I guess for me, one of the reasons why I wrote the book is because when I looked for something, I couldn't find anything to get that information. And I was obsessed with knowing more. And, I did look up a lot, and then I found some people who did it, and I started studying, and then I did find some studies here and there and there and there and there, but they're all spread out and nothing was in a book. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm the one. I had already gathered the information and the research, so it's like, let's put it together so someone does have a place to go and learn about how it works with, you know, 40 different alkaloids and how it works on all the neurotransmitters and how it basically can burn up 7 to 8 generations of karmic bullshit like in a session
Wow,
and bring
really?
some, yes.
Wow.
And I know. And it brings someone up on a map of consciousness like 200 points in one session. Like it just really opens people up to truth.
So
They
that's
call it the,
better than
go ahead.
ayahuasca and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Aya is a grandmother and I have a whole chapter about the difference between the two because Aya will open your heart and it'll allow you to see all these things you need to change about yourself, which is not bad, and it's more gentle and it's direct, and it's communication, I should say. With Iboga, um, it just does it for you. So when you come out
Wow.
of it, you don't want to do that thing anymore, and you don't want to do that thing anymore, and you can't even try to do that thing anymore. And it stays like that for a good while. You have about a 90-day window of what they call neuroibogaine, that your liver will convert the iboga into neuroibogaine, and when that is flowing through your body, you have just serotonin, dopamine. You're just overall like everything's good. And it also deals with the part of the brain that has to do with fight or flight and just that survival area in the back. So reactive type behavior, and that may have been more triggering things for pretty much anything, is like slowed way, 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 way down. So there's this space of like, do you want to drink? No. Do you want to do this drug? No. Do you want to buy that thing shopping wise? Yeah, probably not. Like, there's just, you have time instead of being like, oh, let me just quickly buy this or let me go, whatever. It could be gambling, sex addicts, like, whatever the thing is. It's like you just have time, eating sugar, or there's so many ways that people, doom scroll or play games for hours, all those things just kind of fade. Um, and you want to focus on the things that are like real.
So it kind of like rewires the brain or something?
It literally does. There's this thing called BDNF and GDNF that we have really high levels when we're 1 and 2 years old. And when we have that, it gives us the ability to have this like brain full of neuroplasticity. And so everything we do from 1 to 2, basically, we're pliable in our programming and in our learning, in our way that we see things, our perspective. I never really thought about it, but we are learning so much, motor skills and even using our core to sit up and or to walk or to recognize if someone smiles that that means, oh, they're maybe kind of safe, or if someone frowns, maybe like they're not so safe, or just knowing your mom's smell and your dad, smell or pheromones or things like that. But the older that we get, the less neuroplasticity we have. So the harder it is to change. And the
Mm.
more set in those pathways are within the brain. And when someone does a flood dose, and or microdosing, the BDNF and the GDNF starts, especially a flood, will literally saturate the brain. And any pathways that we have, they just kind of start they just get soft and pliable, and it's like, do I want to do that anymore, or do I want to shift and make something new? So that integration period for me is probably the most important time. Yes, the flood is a big event, but that next 30 days, a person needs some integration tools, and maybe even a person to walk them through that to make sure that they're not starting over in the old shit if they really want a new life. What's scary to me is some of these places overseas that are doing this. I know a lot of them are working with vets, which is great because it helps with TBI. If you've had actual brain damage, it will heal that. I can't say that that's for sure, but I could tell you I've I've seen a lot of stories and I've seen a lot of accounts where that happened. Um, Not just with trauma, but with physical brain damage and or Parkinson's or MS or anything neurological, Alzheimer's, I'm hearing myself, and don't want to make any claims. So I'm not making any claims. I'm just saying I've talked to thousands of people with the book for testimonies, and I've seen data where people are studying this. I've seen um, the brain scans of before and after. I mean, I'm a part of a group in LA that they're doing it right now. And they sent me all the pictures yesterday with all the people on their brain scans. And, they're having to go to overseas to do it, but they're based in LA. Their science place is based in LA. And yeah, so it's really important that we're not just sending people out, without any kind of homework or expectation of some steps to take, because a few of these places literally, people are coming in for like addictions and they're getting help, but on the last day that they're there, they're prescribing them benzos.
Mm.
And it's like, now with that neuroplasticity, you're literally reinforcing that
Yeah.
addiction portion and concreting that in. And then, I have another group where they're getting all these people who are stuck on benzos, which is one of the hardest things to get off. Like above heroin, above
What is
cocaine, above,
benzo?
I can't remember the long word.
I
I'd
mean,
have to look it up.
is it a
It's a
prescription drug?
Yes, it's prescription,
Okay.
and it's basically to well, they're doing it, I guess, for anxiety because people coming out maybe a little nervous after their big thing and they're all having to start a new life without addictions, or maybe they've had 6 deployments, they're going back home, a new person, and like trying to figure out how to be that new person. Um, but yeah, I don't really understand that part yet. But like I said, I spoke with a doctor who's working with a lot of people who now they're having to help the people from Tijuana or help the people from wherever, South America or Peru or Costa Rica, who've gone to get off what the doctor prescribed before they left. And it's like, I talked to some of the patients and they were just like, well, that's what the doctor told me to do. So I just did what they said. And that's what a lot of people do. They just think doctors are God and I got to do whatever the doctor said. But this kid that I talked to, he suffered 5 years trying to get off benzos. And he said that it was harder than anything else he ever did. And,
Wow.
he's now free, but it took him a lot to
Well,
get
I'm
to
sure
get back.
they make that stuff to be as addictive as possible for obvious reasons. That's how horrible it is. Uh, that sounds like a game changer, this Iboga. Uh, can you use it? Is it like you use it once and that's your chance, or is it something you can use as like every year? Can you keep coming back to it? Can it be a maintenance thing if you keep falling off the bandwagon? Or is it just something you could just microdose every 6 months just to make sure, if you feel yourself slipping or whatever?
That's a great question. Yes. So the Bwiti tribe is who kind of orchestrated the whole Iboga spearhead of things, and they would do it for a path of adulthood from 12 to 13 years old. So everybody in the tribe, 12, 13, they would do it. And I haven't talked to anyone 12 or 13 that said it. The youngest I've spoken to was 17 years old. Two 17-year-olds, their parents had them do it with, with care. But and it makes sense. I mean, I just think like if everybody did that at 12 and 13, we would all be a whole different world. I mean, my God. But since then, they have done some studies where, maybe a yearly or maybe you do it once and then something else, lifes. And they're like, you know what? I just need a tune-up. There are also things called boosters, which isn't a full flood, but it will tip tip into that iboga converting into noribogaine. So you do have all the feels to kind of have a space to deal with whatever it is that you needed to deal with in a different way, looking at it from a different perspective without being so immersed in grief or anger or sorrow or depression or whatever the thing is that you're, the addiction, it gives that space to be like, okay, I just have this time now to deal with it the way a normal human would if they weren't drowning in this. But microdosing is a great opportunity as well. And there's a lot of people who are microdosing. The two Parkinson's people that I spoke to never even did a flood, and they were like wheelchair bound, couldn't dress themselves, could not feed themselves, and completely dependent, couldn't work. And one guy I spoke to, 3 weeks is all he did, and he's dressing himself, walking around. I saw another video that someone sent me, and he did 3 weeks, and he was also out of a wheelchair, walking around, acting like just like his tremors were gone.
Wow.
Um, yes, I
That's
spoke with him.
amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
completely off all pharma and
I-
just living their life, and they're only microdosing. And then I spoke to a lady who was in a wheelchair, and she came in for a flood dose, and after she finished her flood dose, actually I didn't speak to her, but I saw the video of some people that do these sessions, and she was cooking for the people at the retreat. Like her favorite thing to do was like cook, and she really missed like baking and cooking and serving in that way on this planet. And by the time she was finished with her blood dose a day or two later, she literally was like, "Can I make dinner for everyone?" And she was up in the kitchen, and she pointed us out her wheelchair, and she was walking around, and she's like, "Look, I'm stable. I'm walking around. I'm cooking. I'm chopping onion." It was like, this is bizarre that this is illegal.
well,
You
it
know,
sounds like it's more than just a brain reset. It sounds like it actually improves physical ailments
it
as well.
it helps. I've seen a lot of studies about autoimmune. I've seen so and anything neurological. So like, you know, with dopamine receptors. That's one of the things, with Parkinson's or MS or Lyme. It helps with Lyme, Epstein-Barr, um, memory issues, anything cognitive. Like I felt like my brain just really came back online where I had felt like stuck. And it's like in my mind, I knew I have all these books I want to write and, all these things that I need to do around the house or just whatever the list is. But I was just so drowning is the word I keep using that I could not, just did not, had zero motivation to just start anything. Um, and like when I came home, I cleaned everything in my house. I had like 20 or something bags of stuff I just threw in the garbage or brought it to a place to donate or just I keep giving things away. There's this shedding of things. Um, and then I just started writing. And like I literally wrote 2 books in 3 days. I was just like, boom, boom, boom,
Wow.
it all just came out. And I
It's
was
like the
like,
ultimate reset. It's like ding.
yeah,
How
yeah,
do you
it's
take
just,
it? Do you take it in liquid form or do you eat the actual plant or how is it administered?
you can eat the bark. Um, and I have. And when I was over there, they gave me a piece before I even started and said, just so you have an idea what it's like, but it's
Did you go
ground
to
up.
Africa to do this?
I did not go to Africa, and I'm not
Oh,
going to say where I went just
oh,
because
okay.
I don't,
Just
but
elsewhere.
but you can go to Africa. Um, and I'm just, yeah, I want to be protective over if anyone's interested, I know really good places to go that are safe, and I just want to make sure someone goes to a safe place. But you could either take the powder and they put it in a tea and you drink it, or they do capsules. And then, like was saying too, microdosing. There is that option. I mean, again, it's illegal, so you can't do it here. But
Is it
if you
legal
live
in
somewhere,
Mexico or other countries?
that's funny because a lot of these centers are in Mexico, but I just read 2 days ago that it's illegal in Mexico. So I'm not sure how they have these centers set up in
Mm.
Mexico. Um, but it's also illegal in Mexico. But there's multiple cities there. There's multiple centers there. There's multiple in Costa Rica, Peru, those kind of places. I have to that's a good question for me to look to see what countries are legal because I might be moving. I might be like, hey, you know what? This is my next thing, and
Yeah.
until they get it legal here. Now I know they're pushing really hard in Texas to get it legalized over there. Um, what's scary is Big Pharma just put like $50 million, or was it $1 billion, into the studies of it. They're working with some vets
Mm.
that they're doing these studies on, but they're sending them across the border to do the studies, even though they're paying for it. I'm glad it's getting the attention so people can have the options to do what they need to do, but it makes me sad that it's pharma that's paying for it because
Yeah.
if they regulate it and change it up or synthesize it with some hybrid whatever, like ibogaine is an extract from iboga. It's pharmaceutical. um I mean, well, in a way. And they're doing IVs mostly overseas instead of the capsules or drinking it. I'm told. I'm not done an IV, but some places apparently do that. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen if it is regulated. It would be great if we had just centers somehow that could be regulated on. I mean, there needs to be some regulation because people shouldn't just be popping iboga all over town and overdoing it and having bad problems because it can be pretty bad if you do too much. Um, so there needs to be some guidelines for sure. And you have to do things like take, heart monitors and EKGs and I'm sorry, EKGs and EEGs and to make sure because anyone with heart issues, no bueno, can't do it. It does a lot to the heart. So if you have a weak heart or a pacemaker, there's a lot of different things that anyone with really serious mental issues or mental problems like schizophrenia and stuff that they're not sure about,
Is it
how
kind of
much
a
of
hallucinogen? Does it make you hallucinate or is it more like uh uh what do they call that stuff? The ecstasy stuff that just
yeah,
makes you feel like whoa, one with the universe type stuff.
a lot of people, I would say 75 to 80% of the people that I interviewed saw things.
Okay.
Um, it's something that was reoccurring is what they called a life review, which I never even heard that really, except for like with NDEs. Um, but on a science level, what happens is I forget the name of the gate. There's like this doorway and that goes to your memory bank. And that's how we access information. And that's why the older we get, like the less open that door. can get to access, like, oh, what was that girl's name in third grade or whatever, but what happens when someone does Iboga, it basically busts down that door for a minute and you have access to every single memory that you ever possibly had in your
Oh,
entire
wow.
life.
That sounds like that
And
could be overwhelming.
it was. I saw my life. I saw my whole life. Um, I mean, it was wild to see snippets that I had never would have remembered,
Totally
but
forgot
I know.
about that one, huh?
And it was, mine was very positive. I've had some people who, like, quote, went to hell, and just saw like crazy stuff. I know Conor McGregor actually did it a few days before I did, and the MMA guy or whatever, and he actually saw his death and what would have happened, if he had stayed on the path of the drugs and all the stuff that he was doing. He saw like the future. So it wasn't even like the past. He did see a lot of that too, and he saw like apparently Jesus and Mother Mary and the Trinity, and that's another reoccurring, as a lot of people will see like Jesus or whoever their teacher is, or ancestors who have passed. I
Wow.
saw um, I saw my grandfather. I saw my dog who passed. I saw my mentor. I'm gonna get emotional. Um, so that, oh, sorry, that was super cool. Just to see, like, it wasn't even like a long thing, but it was just like my dog just literally looked at me and I just saw her, and then she almost like smiled at me like, I'm good, you're good. And so
Ah, that's cool. Everybody wants to see
definitely,
the dogs they lost.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. But it gave me a different perspective about, you know, whatever the other side is, and like not really, the fear of death is gone. I still believe I have a lot of work to do here, and I want to be here for it. And I definitely have more optimism about what my business is. Not, I haven't got it all worked out. I still don't know what I'm going to be doing or how this fits, with the next whatever bit of time I have here. Um, but I will say, like, I went to the expo in LA, and like on one side of me there's a wellness center that works with people across the way, and they were talking about Iboga and they all did it. And on the other side of me, six other people on this other table, they all did it, and
Oh,
they
wow.
saw read in the book, because I had this on my counter about the book, and they were like, oh my gosh, you got to go meet this guy Paul. And they bring me to this guy Paul, who is the founder of the Psychedelic Institute. And he was like, oh, we have a plant symposium on Monday, we would love for you to share. And I was already speaking 3 times for the Science of Miracles book, and I'm like, as long as it doesn't, yeah, please, right, sign me up. And so I got to share there. And then they've invited me to come back to LA to share the 16th, 17th, and 18th on another thing that they're doing. And then I got invited to this thing in Dallas to speak at a biohacking thing that they're going to do, a whole addiction panel, and talk about ibogaine and iboga there. And I was just like, that was not on my bingo card either, that I would just be like, I wasn't going to tell anyone, Mike. Like, I literally wasn't going to tell a single soul that I went or that anything happened. But the first meal that I got after it happened, I was sitting there, it was Chinese food, and I just had this thought in my mind, am I going to tell anybody? Like, that came, just pops in my mind. And I opened the cookie simultaneously, and I pull out this fortune. It says, do not be afraid to share your experience with the world.
Wow.
I was like,
We
I
might as
guess I'm
well
telling
listen to
people.
the cookie.
I'm like, okay, Iboga or God or whoever sent me this, thank you for that. So I don't know how that looks.
Well, this
Uh,
whole thing just sounds like a miracle plant. I mean, I'm just imagining all the war victims, the veterans, the ritual abuse survivors. I mean, that stuff, I mean, that's far beyond just not getting that cheerleader part. That's like serious stuff that I've never been abused like that, so I can't even begin to fathom the trauma that would incur on a soul. But wow, that the potential of this is amazing. I just can't believe I've never heard of it before and that it's been here probably since the beginning of time and it's only now coming to light. It's like,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, it's been around for a minute and it's just getting, I think, more popular because I have talked to people who've been in this field for 10, 15 years. And I'm like, really? But Joe Rogan, you got to give it to him. He's spearheading all the biohacking stuff and, a lot of
oh
other
wow.
stuff.
I never watch
Um,
him, so I haven't seen it, but uh, so he's the one that kind of let the cat out of the bag
that,
on a
for me,
bigger
that's the
scale.
first thing I heard about. That's the first time I heard about it. And then, and there is a lot of vets that they're putting through these programs. Like I think I said, my son-in-law's in 6 deployments before he was 25 years old. And I'm telling you, like, he dealt with the TBI stuff and actually was discharged. Don't ask me how, but he's back in again after whatever. But he knows some of the people who were in this documentary. It's called Waves of War that came out on Netflix like maybe a month or so ago. And that's another big thing that kind of opened the door. But then Texas coming out with this thing to do the studies. Mississippi has, I think there's like 5 or 6 other states now that are on board getting pharma backed to do more studies to see how they can incorporate it. Like I said, I just hope they do it in an ethical way. I hope that the trees are responsibly being reseeded. And, I know like the redwoods, we were working with redwoods and they just literally pillaged all the redwoods. And so, I mean, I'm sorry, what am I saying? Redwoods are in California, right? That's not the right
Yeah,
one.
they're
Um,
they're right here where I'm at. This is redwood
yeah.
country.
No, I'm not thinking redwoods. What is the other one? Not rosemary, rosewood, I guess it is, in South America. And so I know in Oman they had a big virus and people were stealing the frankincense trees and like just going through and like cutting stuff up and taking the sap and hurting the trees so they weren't growing. And I was a part of knowing the guy who went back over there and like worked all that out. I know there was viruses in frankincense. I mean, in France with the lavender, and they had to borrow seeds from America to replant and start over. And anyway, all that to say is
Yeah,
like I don't want anything bad.
it's always like a gold rush. Everybody just jumps in.
Yeah,
It takes as like there's no tomorrow without planning.
yeah. And I don't
Hope
want there to be like fake wars like there was for opiates. All of a sudden there's like a fake war in
the Iboga
Africa
Wars.
or something
No,
to
thank you.
to make sure to that, to steal all that and to, monopolize it and to, take it away from the very people who have been stewarding this for all,
Yeah,
I'm protective over them and the support that I'm getting from Africa because I've met a lot of farmers over there and tribesmen and I've interviewed several and talked to them and they're kind of nervous about that too of like, well, what happens? It's like we want to keep things kind of with us.
is it
But
a it's a tropical tree, I take it. Gabon is like equatorial.
I
So,
would, and I know some people who have tried to grow it in other places and it's not working. So
hmm.
there's something specific about that area. And then here's another thing too. Um, Coco is this gorilla. I don't know if you ever heard of Coco the gorilla back in the day. He's
Sure,
passed now.
the sign language gorilla.
126 signs, I think, is what he could do. And he's never been tested for Iboga, but his entire family were all in the same area where Iboga was grown. And think about African greys too, and their diet is mostly Iboga. And African greys are one of the smartest like species on the planet besides gorillas, and like that's their diet.
Wow. Wow. So maybe we could be making Iboga salads and stuff.
I mean, I
Uh,
don't know.
well, I do know that I don't know a lot about Gabon, but I do know it's one of the more stable countries of Africa, and they've set aside like a third of the whole country are national parks that are preserved. So I do hope it stays that way. But as we all know, Africa has been victimized by the bullies on the block, particularly the Congo right next
The
door,
diamonds, the
the
minerals.
coltan, which makes our computer chips.
Yeah. And
It's
even like the tusks of the elephants and just,
yeah,
everything, it's just
that so-called
sucks.
aphrodisiacs of rhino horns for Chinese
Yeah.
culture. It's like, yeah, Africa's gotten the bad end of the stick, but they're
Yeah.
still hanging on. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that will obviously be another whole aspect of this coming to a greater consciousness that needs to be dealt with from the get-go. Otherwise, it'll just like be like a fire. It just burns itself out, and then there won't be anything left for anybody.
Yes. Yeah, that would be sad. I hope that everybody is responsible with this as it grows and gets more well known and bigger, that I hope that people can be supportive and, making sure that they're taken care of and that they can do because it takes years for these trees to grow. And to get a good quality, you need to have a tree that's at least 10 years old. And the ones that are older than that, the more potent the trees are, the older they are. And so if they start stealing, and taking stuff, and there's cartels over there, and I mean, it's crazy the stuff that I've heard just doing this book, and interviewing so many people. There's a lot to it. But I hope that you guys will get the book because it's helped me. It'll help, it's actually costing me a lot of money to do the book in the first place. I don't know if anyone's ever self-published, but when I went to the publisher side, they were going to give me 3%, like basically cents on the dollar, like 3 cents a dollar for, I mean, yeah, 3 cents per
Wow,
book.
3 cents per
And
book. Wow,
three cents per book.
how generous of
And
them.
I know. I mean, a little royalty, a little 3%, 3 cents per book. But so to publish, it's several thousand because you got to pay, you know, a layout person and an editor and a cover person and all the things to get, bar scans and codes and just all the stuff that's involved with it. It's a little bit of a jump, but it will help me keep doing research and help me, be able to keep doing stuff. And my plan is, or my big picture is that people would be a little more prepped than I was, both on the front end and on the back end. And I'm definitely been working in these last few weeks with doing integration for people who are coming out of it, just so they have some things in line and some prep work for before they go in, because that wasn't really given to me a whole lot. I had more prep on the front end, but not necessarily like, well, what are you going to do on the back end? Like, let's sit down, let's be on purpose with this 90 days, And no one even said like, here's your 90-day window. This is really important, and explain that. No judgment against anybody who helped me with this, because it's helped me tremendously. But I've had to just learn on my own, and I don't want anyone to have to figure it out when you're in the middle of it. Like it would have been way helpful for me if I had some of that. And so I'm actually working on a workbook for the pre and the post in the middle, so people have like a guide.
Mm,
If they don't want to work with me personally, they can have their own guide just laid out on like, these are things to do, these are things to read, these are things to keep in mind, and then let's do your intentions, and this is what to expect, and these are some safe places to go, and then you want to write up about your session, and then on that back end, all the stuff that's I would love to have in one place because I still haven't found that. So I'm working on some good tools that I think can help people. In the meantime, if you guys are out there and you're needing help and you want some support, I can put you in the right direction. And I do hope that you would, help me with the book and get it out. And if you know anybody that needs help, tell them to get the book, because this is going to be a one-stop shop where you're going to get a mass amount of not just the spiritual, but the science and how it all works, plus the testimonies. And I tried to be as specific to detail on a lot of different things that I didn't even find unless you really, really, really dig and, trying to keep it all in one spot.
What's the success rate of this? Does it help most people, or do I would imagine like anything, there's some that just they just can't overcome something for whatever reason.
That's a really good question. So in the Western way of doing things with opiates or benzos or all the things, especially Suboxone, opiates, it's an 18-month grueling withdrawal kind of rehab situation, which actually people die of just withdrawals. Not everyone can even make it because you have to just slowly get off and then and even like Suboxone is very addictive. So, rough. And the percentages that I saw for success is 7%, single digit, seven. Um, that is not okay. What I've seen with the stats that I've been looking at for one session of a flood dose is it goes up to 86% and you have no withdrawals within 48 hours of your first session. Zero.
Wow. So
86%.
when you say flood dose, does that mean like a large
It's
full
a very
dose?
large dose that really floods the whole body with the chemistry and causes your own liver to create its own chemistry to do things. A lot of things convert. Um, with people with really, really bad addictions, they do suggest to do two in 1 week. So most of the places overseas, you'll go in, you do the thing, you wait like 2 or 3 days, you do a second one. So you're there with two flood doses in 1 week. And that's to really like seal in the deal that no one's going to go back to some of these habits. And then that goes up to 96%. Um, I talked to an attorney in California when just this last week, and he was on cocaine so bad. And then he was on downers all night, and he was on Xanax, and he was on this big pharmaceutical stuff of things, and the choices he was making to affect his actual life and his family, and very high risk things that he was doing that could have also taken him out just by being in that lifestyle. But he actually OD'd at a hotel room and he had his dog there and his dog like scratched on the door until like a maid found him and he wasn't breathing. They resuscitated him. I don't know how we found out about Iboga, but someone took him across the border. He had his session and he is just higher than on life and higher than happy. You know, I've talked to him 3 or 4 times now in person and or on the phone, and he's just like, living his life and helping people and bringing people across the border, 1 to 5 people a week, since his was in January. And his dad was actually there filming the panel that I was on, and because he shared on this panel, and his dad was just sitting there filming, kind of tears down his eyes. And when it came down to Q&A, he said something like, I just need to know how long is my boy going to be like this? Like, how long does this last? Because he's been through a lot of rehabs, and I could just feel him as a parent, how tough that's got to be. But um, the panel guy who was in charge said, that's up to him, which it is true, you know. But when we got on the break, I got to actually go over to him and say, hey, I want to tell you, I'm doing a lot of research and this is the stats I've found. And I think he's going to be good. Like he has some choice. He has free will. He can take that 90-day window and go do all the things he was doing and sear that in. And it could be the old program just starting over again with the highest neuroplasticity. But it seems like if he's helping all these people and has this whole new mission to like help as many people as possible, part of his whole Iboga ceremony was that he saw him bringing 100 people through where he went, and that it was called like the Ibogaine soldiers or the Iboga soldiers, soldiers for Iboga. I'm gonna have him on the show, but oh gosh, I just noticed the time. But sorry, I'm going too much. But
It's
But yeah,
fascinating
so
stuff, though. Uh,
but yeah, really way higher than 7%. I mean, my
wow.
God.
So it's good. It's a good thing. Uh,
Yes.
wow. So could you see yourself having Iboga centers someday, somewhere?
If we could get it legalized, yes, I would love that. Or maybe I'm going to be moving. I don't know. There's talks, there's always opportunities. I would like to be with my parents wherever they are because I enjoy spending every minute I can with them, being here on the planet still. But that's kind of my part right now is being able, if I could do that somehow, that would be great. Or if we could find a place in America that it can be safe and legal, then that would be something I would really enjoy doing.
I would imagine the biggest hurdle is going to be the supply and the demand. It's like once this becomes known, it's going to just take off like wildfire. And I don't know if a little tiny country like Gabon could supply the whole world.
I
So
know.
hopefully they'll find some way to, I don't know, greenhouses or something, or I don't know. I guess
Something's got to be done.
that's a field some botanists need to figure out how to, or horticulturists, how to uh, grow it in, pretty much anywhere.
Absolutely.
So I guess
Very much so. Yep.
that's to be continued. So it sounds like
Yeah,
you have to go. You got some.
I do. I have another call in like 10 minutes,
Okay.
and I'm so thankful for this time with you.
Well,
And
I am thankful. This utterly fascinating. Thank you for educating me on something I knew nothing about.
I hope it was helpful, and I hope you
Very
guys
helpful.
are
It was
good.
great,
And
great meeting you,
yes,
great chatting with you, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
I love that. And God bless all you guys watching and everything that you're doing. And if I can be of any service or help, reach out. I'm on most of the Facebook, social media, TikTok, IG, all the things, Instagram.
And
So,
of course, I'll put all your info, beneath the video in the links. So anybody
awesome.
get you, and everybody please buy her book. Sounds like a good
Yeah,
one. I'm going to buy it right away. When was it?
awesome.
When was it released? Or
It was
when was
just
it?
released last week and
Last
for our
week.
pre-sales. And it should be, I'm hoping that it'll be finished as far as the editing and layout in the next few weeks.
Oh, it's not
I
even
think
out yet then, technically.
Yeah, the pre-sales are here. And I think they have a release date of April 15th. And so that's what we're hoping for. And we'll just see. Yeah.
Awesome. My check's in the
Yep.
mail.
Awesome. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a wonderful
Bye.
day.
Take
Bye.
care. Thank you.